Okay, let's talk about something that shows up every single month, but for most of us, might as well be written in an alien language, your electricity bill. We are going to crack the code on this thing, together. By the end of this, you'll be able to look at that confusing page of numbers and know exactly what's going on.
Right? You're not alone. You see that final number you owe, sure. But the rest of it, that jumble of terms like KWH, tariffs, and fixed charges, it can feel totally overwhelming. And look, it's meant to be precise, but that doesn't always mean it's clear. But don't worry, we're about to change all that.
So here's our game plan. First, we'll demystify the bill itself. Then we'll dive into the nitty-gritty of kilowatt hours, what you're actually being measured on. After that, we'll talk tariffs, how you're charged. We'll compare the two main types, and then we'll wrap up with what all this actually means for you and your wallet. Let's do it.
All right, first things first. Let's crack this code. I want you to stop thinking of your bill as just a demand for money. Instead, think of it like a report card for your home's energy use. And once you know how to read it, you can start getting some straight A's.
Seriously, that's it. When you boil it all down, it's just those two things. Everything else on that page, all those graphs, charts, and weird line items, is just there to explain these two fundamental pieces. The amount of energy you used times the price for that energy. So, let's break down that first part, shall we? So, how in the world do they measure the electricity you use? It all comes down to one single, super important unit of measurement. Let's get into it.
Everybody, meet the kilowatt hour, or kWh for short. This is basically the gallon or the pound of the electricity world. It's how they measure what you buy. Imagine you have a 1,000-watt space heater. If you run that thing for exactly 1 hour, boom, you've just used 1 kilowatt hour. It's really that simple.
And what's so cool is you can actually figure this out for any appliance in your house. It's a simple three-step process. Step 1, find the wattage. It's almost always on a little sticker on the back or the bottom. Step 2, multiply that number by how many hours you use it. And finally, step 3, just divide that whole thing by 1,000. That's it. That gives you the exact kilowatt hours you see on your bill. Let's try a quick real-world example. Your microwave. It's a pretty powerful little box, right? Let's say it's 1,200 watts. Now, you're probably not running it for a full hour. Maybe you use it for 30 minutes total in a day, that's half an hour, to heat up some leftovers. So how many kilowatt hours would that be?
Well, you take those 1,200 watts, you multiply it by 0.5 hours, which gives you 600 watt hours. Then, just divide by 1,000, and you get 0.6 kilowatt hours. See? Now you know exactly how to calculate your usage for anything. Okay, so that's how it's measured. Now let's talk about how you're charged for it.
All right, so we've got the first half of the equation down, how much energy you used. But that's only half the story, remember? Now we need to tackle the second piece of the puzzle, the price you paid for it. And this is where we need to talk about something called tariffs. Tariff sounds kind of complicated and official, but it's really just a fancy word for your pricing plan. It's the rule book your energy company uses to decide the exact price for every single one of those kilowatt hours you're using, plus any other little fees they might add on.
I absolutely love this analogy because it makes it so clear. Just like a menu at a restaurant tells you the price for a steak or a salad, your tariff tells you the price for your electricity. But here's the thing, not all restaurant menus are the same, right? And neither are tariffs.
Which brings us to the main event. We're going to look at the two most common types of menus you'll find for electricity. This is the tale of two bills, the simple tariff versus the two-part tariff. And trust me, understanding the difference here is everything. So with a simple tariff, it's super straightforward. You use a kilowatt hour, you pay a flat price for that kilowatt hour. End of story. It's a pure pay-per-item system. A two-part tariff, though, is a little different. First, you pay a small, fixed amount every day just for being connected to the grid. Think of it like a cover charge at a bar. Then, you pay for each kilowatt hour you use, but, and this is key, usually at a lower rate per kilowatt. Okay, now let's see how this actually plays out with some numbers. Let's say you use 200 kilowatt hours in a month. On the simple plan, at 25 cents per kilowatt hour, that's a straight $50. Easy. Now look at the two-part plan. 200 kilowatt hours at the cheaper 15-cent rate is $30, plus that $20 fixed charge, and what do you know? It's also $50. This right here is what we'd call the break-even point.
But now, watch what happens if you start using more energy. Let's say you use 400 kilowatt hours. On that simple tariff, your bill just doubles to $100. Makes sense. But on the two-part tariff, well, 400 kilowatt hours at that cheaper 15-cent rate is $60. Add the same $20 fixed charge, and your total is only $80. So once you cross that break-even point, that lower per unit cost starts to save you some real money. So what does this all mean for you in the real world? It means there's no single best plan for everyone. The right choice depends entirely on your lifestyle and how you use energy. It's all about choosing the right strategy.
So a simple tariff is usually going to be your best bet if you don't use a ton of electricity or if your usage is all over the place. Think of a small apartment or maybe a vacation home that's empty a lot. But if you've got a big house, a family, and you're consistently using a lot of power, that two-part tariff is almost certainly going to be the cheaper option in the long run. Go look at your last bill. The tariff name is usually right there on the front page, and see which camp you fall into. And that right there is the big takeaway. Saving money on electricity isn't just about switching off the lights when you leave a room. It's about making sure you're on the right pricing plan for your life. Your bill isn't just a bill, it's a data report. And now you know how to read it.
So the next time that bill comes in, don't just glance at the total and sigh. Look at your kilowatt-hour usage, find out what kind of tariff you're on, and then ask yourself that big question. Am I playing this game as smart as I could be? Because now you know the rules. You have the power to choose the right strategy. Thanks for tuning in.